Well, that's when we start to bump heads. It's when we don't lay out these differences and jobs. So, many times when we talk about benefits from a paid staff point of view, we're talking about benefits. Perhaps a retirement plan, perhaps an insurance plan. But for your volunteers, this is where you will list ability to network, opportunity to learn new skills, whatever. So that's a really critical part, especially for volunteers. You're not going to be telling them you're paying them anything. So really focus on the benefit. And the performance standards, what you expect of this individual. Are they there to raise $10,000? Are they there to support a particular program and attend all meetings? That's up to you. Once again, this is a generic view of the importance of a job description, but please note the competencies are such a critical piece of that. This is a little tip, and I think I got 3 tips throughout this presentation. Nice to put at the bottom of a job description, especially if it's part of a contract that you're already signing with someone, or if you're reviewing a job description with an individual. This is for your employee or volunteer to sign. I have reviewed this job description and I agree it's an accurate representation of the responsibilities of my job. I understand as the organization's needs change, my job description will change. So, nice, eh?
Yeah, that's, I mean, it's nice on paper. No, but I think it's very important.
It's important for your staff and volunteers.
People will come back to me and say, that's not the job.
That's not my job.
I was hired for.
I mean, this does not replace a contract.
And we are talking of a non-unionized place, right?
Typically.
Wouldn't go.
It would not fly in a unionized environment. Very good point. I'm speaking from a sort of a small community-based perspective here, where all of us are expected to do all things in terms of HR. Okay, so that's just a little hint. So let's assume that you've got a wonderful job description for this new person we're hiring. Let's keep it simple. You're not hiring 20 people, you're hiring one person. Now it's time to find that individual and decide which one is the best. So for the recruitment piece, you're going to use the core competencies. I haven't talked about core competencies. You're going to have a long list of competencies for every job. Right? You're going to go through that list and you may pull a list of 20 competencies you want, ideally, that new person to have. The reality is there's only going to be 4 or 6 that are critical key competencies that are unnegotiable, that you cannot hire a person who doesn't have this. Sure, you can provide training, a little more experience for them to up their competencies in some level, but for any job description you design, ensure that you highlight the core competencies that cannot be negotiated out of, that are so critical to the job. So what I'm suggesting is you're looking at your job description, you're looking at your competencies, and your core competencies will be highlighted. Now you know exactly how you're going to recruit, right? You're not going to recruit for competencies you don't need. You're going to or the ones that are not nearly as important. And you don't want to pay thousands of dollars for an ad that runs on pages after page. So you've got to focus on your core competencies. Could someone tell me what time it is? Okay, we're doing okay, I think. Alrighty. Important thing about recruitment is that piece, whether you're posting it online or whether you're putting it in a newspaper, and I know it costs more to do this, your intent is to not only focus on the competencies expected, but the rewards of the job. This is a marketing piece. The job description is an internal document. The recruitment piece, which takes those competencies and publicly looks for someone to apply to you, is a marketing piece. So you are focusing on the rewards. You are being very clear about the culture of your organization. So there's no surprises there, and you're making sure that you're attracting someone who shares your values and will be comfortable in your culture. So focus on rewards and core competencies. And my plan was to have newspapers here, and we were going to open up the newspapers and look at the job ads. And I was going to ask you to tell me which ones reflected a good job ad. But guess what? The papers all disappeared from the hotel today. And the one paper up there didn't have any job ads in it. So I managed to find one online. And just to be different and difficult, it's from food services. And here it is. Magic. Loft Community Services, Food Services Manager. Date, locate, this is an ad, okay? This is on Charity Village. Only because I knew I could find a number there. This is really interesting. Please note, the logo, your logo, if it doesn't already reflect your culture and who you are and what you believe, should. Because that is branding this ad and attracting the right people to your organization. It has a title across the top. This is a lengthy ad, right? Because if you're going to go on Charity Village and advertise, it's not like a small display ad where it's 2 by 2. You can kind of get a bit more creative. They do a job summary, but look where the focus is. Qualifications, which includes competencies, skills, experience, personal attributes the person must bring to the job. Ability to provide effective supervision. Oral and written skills in English, very specific. Experience in food services, ability to organize activities and work with people individually and in groups. You see, it's not about the tasks that person has to do. That's back at the job description. It's about, does this sound like you? They also paint a nice picture around what the workplace offers people. So there's your benefits of applying, so that you're going to reduce your time screening applications. You're going to have the right person apply for the job. And if I can just get out of here and go back to my presentation, I'll really take a deep breath. Okay, so I'm afraid to close anything. I'll just pull it back up again, right guys?
Yeah.
And slideshow from, can I not go back? I can't go, I'm just going to have to do a fast forward here. Okay? Actually, it's a good review. Poor HR, save yourself some time. What are competencies? How they're the red thread running through the cycle. We've done our analysis, our planning. Okay, so we're not going to do this. But, you know, next time you open the paper, and if any of you are scanning the job ads for any particular purpose, take a look at the ones that really clarify to you the benefits and the culture and the values of the organization. It really is an exercise opposed to one of these, what a friend of mine calls the task puke. Okay, just everything just spit out there, will do, will do, will do, will do, will do. It's nice to be able to do that, but what do you need to prop that up? Okay, so we're not going to do that exercise because we've looked at a sample. Okay, so here we are during the selection process. We now have 100 resumes on our desk because we did such a good job with the job ad. We've had all these wonderful people apply. Where do you go from there? Well, first of all, the easiest thing to do is screen based on core competencies. If you knew there were 5 key competencies that cannot be negotiated out of, that regardless of where their skills or competencies are in other areas, if they don't have these 5, you don't want them, or 3, or 2. That's up to you to decide. Typically, it's between 3 and 5, I'd say. Well, guess what? That one goes. You're not even going to bother yourself with that individual. So already you're taking your list of 100 to maybe 25. That's why it's important, if you're applying for a job, they will list the core competencies in the ad. So use that same language, paraphrase a little. There are some tools that will search for that exact wording at the other end. That's how they're screening. They want to see an exact fit between your competencies, according to your resume and cover letter, and the competencies that job they're advertising is. So first step is screen, throw those other in a drawer in the garbage, recycle them, be appropriate, and then you need to set up a selection process. So what you're going to do is ask, open, okay, so now you've got your list down to 25, okay? You may have some other process for narrowing it even further. If they call me Mr. Gay Douglas, they don't get an interview. Because they didn't sort of do their research. And that's a personal thing. If I see a lot of spelling errors, unfortunately, I'm biased that way, and I will often toss that resume too. So let's assume that I've followed up with 15 people, and really at this point only 10 are still interested in the position, and I need to hire. So I'm to the point now of asking open, behavioral, situational questions. And I'm looking for them to prove and demonstrate to me, we all know about demonstrations, demonstrate to me that you have this particular competency. Oh, we can try this if we have time. Maybe we should keep going. If we have time, we'll come back and try it. But let's talk about what that might look like. Does everyone have the same understanding of what an open behavioral or situational question may be? My students always get these two mixed up, behavioral and situational. I think this one might explain it to you. The last one in the package. Oh, it's not there, is it?
On page 7, though, the middle slide.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. I didn't attach it as a separate document. It's there. So let's say you have that list of 5 competencies that you know that individual needs to have for the job that you're hiring for. This would be, I used to use this as an assignment with my students. They'd work in teams to come up with 2 behavioral and 2 situational questions. Behavioral questions test for past behavior or current behavior. Situational are, what would you do if? You're presenting a situation and seeing how people would respond to it.
So any situation,
A case study.
case study, or
Yep.
something that's happened, well, how would you deal with that?
How would you deal with this? But keep in mind, you just said something that happened. If it's in the past and you want to find out how they handled it to test their attention to detail, for example, that's behavioral. Situational is what if? What would you do if? What would you do in this case? Now here's a couple of examples for you. For attention to detail. Tell me what processes you use. This is behavioral, this is current. It's got to be there. What processes do you use to ensure that small details are not overlooked in your work? Wow. If they cannot articulate what processes they use, are they truly detail-oriented? Maybe they're unaware of their processes. But typically, people who have strong attention to detail, if this is the example we're looking at, know exactly what they do. Typically, what I do is I make a list of all the tasks inherent in the job. I identify the steps and a timeline. This isn't a person who's got an attention to detail, and that's what you want to pull out that demonstrates this person has that competency. Make sense? Another behavioral one right under it. How does your attention to detail at work carry into the rest of your life? So what's the right answer? You want to hear things like,
Planning a vacation.
and they'll tell you, oh, you should see the way I plan a vacation. I research all my options, I copy messages, I develop a database. This is a person with an attention to detail. They're demonstrating that to you, right? I can't go to the grocery store without a list. On my BlackBerry, all of my appointments are listed. They're going to tell you all this stuff. And you're going, okay, I now see this person, I think, really has an attention to detail. Okay, makes sense? Those are 2 behavioral. Here's a situational. You have been given this preliminary plan for a fundraising event, or a concept paper for a project, or whatever you want to give them, something that's half-baked. What details are missing? Ooh. If they say, it looks fine to me, ooh, no detail, no attention to detail there, right? Okay, that gives you an idea of the behavioral. versus the situational.